Hello, everybody. Welcome to ComputerLiteracyTutorials.com. Had a little blooper just a minute ago. This tutorial will cover how to host a website from Ubuntu or Windows Server. So up here you have the configure the network, pictures, IP address is unique. Let's go further down. Shows the Ubuntu shell, and then Windows Server setup. You get with Windows Server, then Ubuntu setup. So a step-by-step illustrated guide for home and small business. So introduction, hosting your own website is an excellent way to learn networking, web servers, operating systems, DNS, and cybersecurity. Whether you choose Ubuntu server with Apache or Windows server with IIS, the overall process is very similar. By the end of this guide, you will have a working web server that visitors can access from anywhere on the internet. What you will build. So you have the internet, your public IP address, your home business router, port 80443 open, and Ubuntu server or Windows server. Apache or IIS, which is Windows web server, and Apache is Ubuntu. Your website files, so that's like your HTML files that you're developing. I can do a tutorial on that later about how to make HTML files or web pages. Equipment checklist. A computer, modem, PC or server, RAM, 8 GB minimum storage, solid state drive, internet, broadband, supports port forwarding for your router, domain, optional but recommended. So mine that I had before was like Gym Junkie Fitness or Computer Literacy Tutorials. So for Ubuntu, you want to install Ubuntu Server, which is free. It's a free Linux version of server of Windows Server, but it's free from Linux Foundation. When you download it, you want to select your language. Um, you can get this download from Linux.com or Ubuntu.com. Let me double check really quick, okay? I'll do it right in front of you. Just search Ubuntu server download on the search engine, and there it is. It is Ubuntu.com. Yep. So going back to the display. So once you download that server from Ubuntu.com, you will do the storage configuration, SSH configuration, and then install, and then you reboot your computer. So when you download Ubuntu server, download the latest Ubuntu server long-term support server version from the official Ubuntu website. You need to create a bootable USB drive. You can use Rufus for Windows or start up Disk Creator on Ubuntu to create a bootable USB drive. So Rufus is a good way to make the bootable drive for Windows, and Startup Disk Creator for Ubuntu is a great way to create a bootable drive. Both are interchangeable for each operating system. To install Ubuntu during installation, select your language, configure your keyboard, configure your network, create an administrator account, install Open SSH server, and complete installation and reboot. Step 3, login. After reboot, you need to use your username and password. You should see a terminal similar to this. My name's Steve, so it'd be Steve at Ubuntu. Update Ubuntu. So it'd be sudo apt update is the command up here. Sudo apt update up here, and then all this command and threads will be activated through that command. So sudo space apt space update. Do you want to continue? Hit yes. So do you do sudo apt upgrade again? All the dependencies are upgraded, and then another one sudo apt and double ampersand sudo apt upgrade. So you do update and upgrade at the same time. So either one would work. You can do one or the other or both at the same time. So double ampersand is to run two commands at the same time. So again, you would run sudo apt upgrade -y and sudo apt update. And if you add two ampersands between the two commands, they'll run together. This installs the latest security patches when you do those two commands. So installing Apache web server. So Apache is what you need to install on top of the Ubuntu web server. So the installation is sudo apt install Apache 2. Install Apache, sudo apt install Apache 2-y, start Apache, and then you do sudo systemctl start Apache 2, enable automatic startup, then you do sudo systemctl enable Apache 2, then you verify sudo systemctl status Apache 2, and it'll tell you the status of the Apache 2 in the system. The Apache service diagram is the browser, then the Apache web server, HTML files, and then the visitor. The test server is when you open your browser and type HTTP localhost. That's the test server, or 192.168.1.150. That's the test server. You can put either or for the local host. You should see the Ubuntu default page, website folder. So this is the website folder. HTML file manager is where you put all your web pages. So Ubuntu stores the websites at that location. var www /var /www /html. That's where the Ubuntu stores the website files. So example would be var /var www /html, and you put index.html in there. Images, and then CSS, and then JS, JavaScript. Create your first web page. So example, you do not type HTML head, website, body. This is the HTML programming language, and then for the presenting page, this website is hosted for Ubuntu, and then the body, and that's it. Then you configure the firewall, which prevents certain packets from coming in and destroying your server. So you do sudo ufw allow HTTP rule added version 6 in parentheses or v6, sudo ufw status, and then the status will show if it's active or inactive. In this picture, it says active, so that's in good status. And then for service and SSH, secure shell HTTP HTTPS. That will install the firewall for your web server. So you got the internet, you got the Ubuntu firewall, which is UFW, port 22 secure shell access, port 80 HTTP traffic, port 443 HTTPS future, and then NG-INX reverse proxy. To allow HTTP to work on your website, you do sudo UFW for Ubuntu firewall allow port 80, because port 80 is HTTP. That's hypertext transfer protocol. And then to allow hypertext transfer protocol secure, which is short for HTTPS, which is the explanation of HTTPS is short for hypertext transfer protocol security, is sudo UFW Ubuntu firewall allow port 443. So both of these commands will allow HTTP and HTTPS to be for your website. To enable the firewall, do sudo again, UFW Ubuntu firewall enable. Find your server address, run, IP address, example, and then 192.168.1.150. When you run that command, it will tell you what your server IP address is. It's not going to be that specific address all the time. So this is for Windows Server. So a server dashboard is what it looks like. Windows Server is a lot easier because it uses the graphic user interface or GUI. It allows roles in the wizard, internet information services. So everything is has these little diagrams and cartoons that you can follow. So if you install Windows Server normally, after logging in, go to Server Manager, and install IIS. Choose Add Roles and Features. Select Web Server IIS. Click Install. IIS architecture is the browser, Internet Information Services, and Internet PUP www root, and then you got the website. So the web folder, and then the doc type. So then you go to the notepad and enter the HTML codes. You got doc type HTML head, title head. Editor, I am using Notepad for HTML document. Welcome to HTML. Website, the look, HTML, head, hello world, body, hello world. Website files are stored in that pub, www root. That's a file location. So it's C:\/ innet pub / www root. Replace with information Internet Information Service start or IIS start.htm with your index.html. You got to make your own index.html using Notepad or program as Notepad and then implement that into the file system. So test the Internet Information Service. So open HTTP localhost. You should see the IIS web page. So for the router configuration, instead of running commands like you did with Ubuntu, you do port forwarding, HTTP, you put your internal IP address, port 80, transfer TCP, transfer communication protocol for TCP. I think that's what it stands for. So you have the website.com, you have the local network, you got the router, you got the ISP router, Internet Service Provider router, you got the regular router, DNS server, domain name server, internet, hypertext transfer protocol server, web server, and your website.com lives at this server, HTTP server. That's what we're making right now. You're making an HTTP server for either Windows or Ubuntu. Ubuntu is free, so I recommend Ubuntu if you were trying to save money. So public IP 202.101.1, device IP 192.168.12 port 80, and then device B private IP 192.168.13 port 443. So port mapping rules is public port 8080, device A port 80, public port 8443, and device B port 443. So you're adding a port forwarding entry, external port 90, and saving. So the internet has a IP address that goes to the router, and the router goes to port 8, skips port 80, and port 20 goes to port 443. So you log into your router and create forwarding rules. So you got 80 TCP server IP and 443 TCP server. So 80 is HTTP and 443 is HTTPS. That's what we learned in this module. So the static IP address. Assign your server a permanent address. Example, 192.168.115. This prevents the router from assigning a different address after reboot. So domain name service and DNS. Record name, example.com, value 192.0.21. Example.com, Amazon route 53, 192.0.21. So example, the domain name service comes from these IP addresses and presents it on the internet. How the domain name services propagation works. All those little stacks are like servers. Those little disks. Yellow's propagating, the green are propagated, and the red are not yet propagated. So you got the website, the domain name service, and you got the server with the IP address. That's the diagram concept. Purchase a domain name. You have to purchase a domain name a lot of the times to create a record. Sometimes you have to go through GoDaddy. Sometimes you have to go through Bluehost. Or sometimes there's a way you can go online and buy it from people without getting associated with any of those big brands, like example.com or. So your public IP address, after you buy your domain name, DNS updates may take several hours to propagate worldwide. And then you enable HTTPS. So public view, key, sorry. Web server admin software TLS SSL certificate. Let's encrypt, which goes to example.com. So that's HTTPS image there. Here's some images of what your work should look like while you're setting this up. So, not sure why I went back to Ubuntu. I thought we were stuck on this Windows side, but when you do Ubuntu, you should install certbot as well. It's a sudo apt to install certbot, Python, certbot Apache, and run sudo certbot dash double dash Apache. In Windows Server, you should use win acme or ISS Wizard, Certificate Wizard, and Let's Encrypt. I have a feeling certbot, they're both encryption algorithms that help protect you. Yep, certbot and for Ubuntu and WinAcme for Windows servers are certificate encryption tools that protect your information on your website so that people can't exploit your information or destroy your website. A lot of times, foreign nationals or hacktivists will come in and destroy your business if you don't protect yourself, which is why we have a contingency plan. So you upload your website. Basically in Ubuntu, you would do the HTML files and that file path that I showed you. This is for Windows Server, most likely, because it's a GUI. Yeah, you do the same HTML index. It's pretty much synonymous setup, but the Windows has a GUI and the basic file structure. It might take you a couple times to try to get it right. When I set up my server, it took me a couple hours, so don't feel bad. This is a website root. So images, logo PNG, all the images go in the images file, the scripts go in the animation.js file, the styles go in the default theme CSS file, and the index HTML file is what starts the whole thing. And that's where you put the icon, the JPEG underneath the index file. That's where the icon for the website will come up. You know how you have like windows and I have that little picture of the four openings in the window, and that's where the icon goes. So typical website is indexed to HTML, about the HTML, contact the HTML, CSS, images, JavaScript. You can also add, you know, pictures to HTML, music to HTML, whatever you want your website to be about, and you can make a special web page about it. Website request flow is visitor types. Who do you want visiting? Do you want the adult crowd? Do you want the education, academic crowd? Do you want the party crowd? Do you want the elderly and senior citizen crowd? DNS server, router, Ubuntu or Windows server, Apache or IIS, HTML file, and then website displays. So best security practices, security checklist for website hosting services, avoid denial of service attacks, distributed denial of service attacks, correction, protection against brute force attacks. That's why the cert bot thing was a good idea to encrypt your website. I mentioned two encryption tools that you could use through Windows command prompt or Ubuntu command prompt. Website backup is always important to back up the information on an external hard drive or have another website or company or service save your information on the cloud so that you could always recover your website if it's lost or stolen or broken into. So the home computer requests a web page, the server serve the page to the website. Um, the web page is delivered and then, or actually, they're dropped by the firewall because that requested. And then, so if something is not requested by you, it will be dropped by the firewall. That's the hacker trying to get to the page. But if you do not allow them to do it, they're going to get blocked. and then the web page is delivered to the home computer. So there's always a man in the middle that might come in there and try to intercept your information if you don't want it to be seen. Install operating system updates, use strong administrative passwords, disable unnecessary services, enable HTTPS, configure a firewall, and perform regular backups. So like save your information regularly. Monitor the web server logs, limit remote administrative access, and keep Apache IS, PHP, and other software updated. So troubleshooting guide. I'll just let you take pictures of that or screenshots. Apache won't work. Check system status Apache 2 for errors. If the information system won't load, verify the ISS service is running. If the website is not visible externally, confirm router for port forwarding and firewall rules. If the domain doesn't resolve, check DNS error records and allow time for propagation. If HTTPS certificate errors occur, renew or install the SSL certificate. If permission is denied in Ubuntu, verify the ownership and permissions in var www HTML. That's usually a change mode command. So like you do chmod and you do xxx for xrw or something like that, so that you could give everybody permission. Read, write, and execute. Or yeah, rwx, read, write, execute. So summary: you have now learned how to install Ubuntu server, Windows server, configure Apache ISS, publish HTML website files, configure local network and firewall rules, set up router, port forwarding, register and point a domain name for your server, secure the site with HTTPS, and test your website for both your local and network internet. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. This is computerliteracytutorials.com. I hope you enjoyed what I wrote. If you have any questions, you can reach my number 385-222-6149 or reach me at swong8295@gmail.com. That's S is in Sam, W is in Whiskey, O is in Oscar, N is in Nancy, G is in Gator. The number is 8295@gmail.com. Thank you and have a wonderful day.